Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Checking In with Tommy Else. I am your host, who else but Tommy Else. And first off, I'd like to start off today's show by just saying thank you to everybody who has been supportive of this show. A lot of people seem to be digging it, and I appreciate that. It's been fun for me to do. I've appreciated everybody who's come on the show, and I think we've had good talks with everyone. And I'm glad people are digging it. So thank you, everybody. Hope everyone out there is doing well in this quarantine. I'm hanging in there, doing fine. Today is uh, I always say that everybody's a special guest, but they all are special in their own way. It's like everybody brings a certain uniqueness with their own story, which is the whole point of this thing. And I'm just fortunate enough to know enough people that are in varying situations. But this was one that I don't know, for whatever reason, I was very interested in hearing this story. And it comes from our guest today, Mrs. Amanda Feeney. Amanda and I met, I must have been 19, maybe 20, but probably 19. And I was working at a bank, and she was in high school still, and I think worked part time at a different branch, but would come and fill in at ours. And we had a mutual friend who I became friends with at the bank as well. And anyway, we've stayed in contact all these years through one way or another. And I consider her a good friend. And she happens to be a second grade teacher and also a mother of two. So she's got a very unique perspective on what it's like for someone in her position as both not only a teacher for grade school kids, but a mother who has young children of her own, and how you juggle all of that. So I was grateful to get her on. She's not quick to jump on camera, but she was willing to do this, and I appreciate that. Um, but we had a really good conversation. I'm excited to share it with you today. So I think that's all the build up it needs. I think though the interview will definitely stand on its own, and I really encourage people to let me know what you think about these thoughts, questions you might have for any of these people. I can ask them and then answer them on future episodes. You can tweet at me at Tommy underscore else, or you can find me on Facebook at Tommy else. So, all that being said, it is with great pleasure that I introduce you to Mrs. Amanda Feeney. All right, welcome Amanda Feeney to the show. Amanda, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Uh, so I was thinking about it. We've known each other almost 20 years now. Can you believe that?
Yeah. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to think about that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Because I was either 19 or 20 when I met you, and I'm 40 now. So
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. I think I was like started at the bank when I was like 16.
yeah,
So somewhere in there, yeah. I
yeah,
worked at that branch with where you and Jason worked.
right. Oakbrook Terrace, yeah.
Yep.
So I worked at West Suburban, and you popped in once in a while and kind of subbed in, but you were buddies with our mutual friend Jason and everything. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I've known you a long time.
It's kind of weird when you say it that way. Then it makes me feel old.
Well, so anyway, so I wanted to have you on the show. First of all, just to check in and see how you and the Feeney family are holding up. Is everyone healthy and well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so you are married. You have two kids. How old are Jack and Maeve?
So Jack's 9, almost 10. He'll be 10 June 4th, and Maeve is 7.
Nice. So you are also a teacher.
I am. 2nd grade.
Second grade. And how long you been doing that?
So this is my 15th year teaching and my 10th year in 2nd grade. My first 5 years were in a special ed at-risk preschool program.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
My sister had gone to the school you teach at, so she knew of you and always spoke very highly of you. So,
Oh, thanks,
uh,
Lily.
but I'd like to get her on the show actually. But so I thought you would be a great guest, given that you are both a mother and a teacher. And uh, so let me kind of just run you through a few questions just so you can kind of get some more background. So, all right, they throw the stay-at-home order into effect, and uh, when they did that, what as a teacher, what first? Did you hear that they were going to have the stay-at-home order, or did you know that they were going to send kids home first and start having to do homeschooling online and things like that? Like, how did it kind of break down for you? How did all this unfold in your world?
It was all at. I mean, it's kind of all at once. It was.
Yeah, I mean, it did kind of happen over like the same weekend almost.
So I had heard just from other states, a lot of schools had been shut down. So I think we kind of knew, like, it was on our radar.
Yeah.
But earlier in that week, my husband's boss had said to him, like, I don't want you coming into work anymore, because he works in the city. And I think then Mark said to me, you guys are going to be next. And I was like, really? You think? So then when it happened that Friday, is March 13th, I remember thinking, oh, wow, I didn't, not that I wasn't expecting it. It came, I just wasn't expecting all this to be so like.
Right. Well,
it was a lot. It was overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a serious thing. I mean, at no point in either of our lives have we ever had a pandemic like this. We've never experienced this before. So when you hear from the government, stay home, don't leave the house, don't go out in public and all that stuff, yeah, that's a scary thing for sure. Right. And especially if you've got kids. So from the teacher's standpoint, what was the initial plan that they hit you with as far as what you would be doing for doing the online classes and homeschool stuff?
So when the email came out on that Friday, basically just saying, like, you won't be coming back for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be 2 weeks, and then we had a spring break. So it was 3 weeks total.
Right.
We were told that the district would be coming up with a e-learning plan, and that we just needed to support our students and families. We could provide them with extra resources if we wanted to. They did ask that we maintain like communication, obviously. So it was up to the teachers to decide what like platform they wanted to use. I know some people started using Zoom right away. Some people were just sending daily videos of themselves, or so there were lots of different options. But that's how it's.
They kind of gave you a little bit of free reign on how you felt best about approaching it.
And it was more, at least for us in my district, it was more of kind of like a menu with tons of resources grouped into like grade levels or grade ranges. Yeah. So families could go on, and we gave them kind of a rough structure, like if you wanted to follow your day like this. So I would say the first 2 weeks were a little bit more, I don't know if casual is the right word, but it wasn't. Yeah.
But I heard they weren't like really grading anybody or anything.
Well, we weren't supposed to be. According to the Illinois State Board of Education, they had said, like, these are act of God days. Like, you're not taking attendance. We're not giving grades out for things. So, that was the first message.
Okay. So how has it been going for you doing that?
Well, those first 2 weeks were okay because like I said, the district had kind of made that huge menu. So I would just try and the platform I chose to share with my families and students, I would post every day or send a quick video of myself saying hello. I would send extra resources if they needed them.
Yeah.
So that was not as stressful. And then spring break came. So obviously that's a week off, no planning. And then it was, hey, guess what? You guys aren't coming back. It's extended till April 30th. So now we have to do like remote learning. So we're like legit now having to come up with plans.
Yeah.
So that caused a lot of stress. Um, just because it's so hard to, like, how do you take everything that you bring to a classroom when you're physically with your students and then try to like wrap that all up into a Google Doc to like send them?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I can't imagine. No, I mean, I'm sure it's 10 times more work than it would have been to just be there in person and do it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And it involves so much um, prep in a way of like, oh, well, what if they're not with me? So if they don't understand how to get into this certain site, or if their clearly parents are working from home, so
Right.
I don't, I'm not going to send things home and think that like parents have all this time to be dealing with that. So you had to take that into mind. And then, yeah, it just, all of the differentiation that you can usually do in the classroom, like in a small group, let's say,
Yeah.
when you're putting your plans together, it's kind of like we come up with something that we think is just, all right, this is the general, like we'd be doing this anyway all together. Then I had to go back and think, okay, how am I going to meet the needs of all the students with like their own individual needs now? So that took some time in problem solving and a lot of stress.
So what is your format you're doing right now? So is it are you having like live video with any of the students, or are you just sending out the information and the stuff for them to work on, or both?
No, so we're definitely all doing some type of um, like Zoom, Google Hangout.
And like how many will you have on at one time doing that?
Well, at first, I just was doing one class meeting. So it was the same time every Thursday. Um, and it was just kind of like a, hey, it's just great to see each other's faces. Um, I have the ability to mute everybody. So then I would just go around and say, okay, Tom. And then I would unmute, and then you would get to share or say something.
Yeah, I was
But
wondering how they would go because that's got to be tough to have all those kids on a video call, you know.
yes. Well, luckily, there was, I have a friend who is actually uh, into like musicals, and she directs musicals and things like that. And she's been having to teach her classes via Zoom. And
Yeah.
some of her classes have like 3 and 4-year-olds. So she was telling me, oh, there's a feature where you can mute them and make sure that they can't unmute themselves.
Okay.
So I said, oh, that's brilliant. So I think if she wouldn't have really told me about that, I probably would have had to learn that the hard way. Um, but then just recently, I really sat down and tried to figure out like the logistics of how can I meet with smaller groups of students, just so it's just nice to like be able to see them in a smaller group, because sometimes in that whole class Zoom, it's hard, it's overwhelming. So
Right.
I decided I would do one group each day. So I have 5 different groups, and I see one, um, their certain day of the week, and that's through Zoom, and it's just for a half an hour. So I don't know, I'll read them a story, or we'll talk about certain skills. But I also told them it's a time for them just to like talk to each other and talk to me, because I'm a really big like social emotional mental health advocate,
Oh,
and I think there's been a lot of worry and emphasis on like what skills are these kids going to be missing and losing out on. And I think we also need to make sure that we're like focusing on just how are you doing, because
well, and
yeah.
that was my next question to you is what's the vibe you're getting from your students? How are they doing? I mean, you know, I know it's probably a very confusing thing for second graders to even really wrap their heads around what's going on. I mean, I'm 40 years old now. I'm having a hard enough time
Yeah,
figuring it all out. So, what's the vibe, you know?
from what I can see, I mean, they seem okay. They're so excited to see each other when we do our whole class Zoom. When I'm talking with them on more of a small group level, um, I guess the only thing I would really notice is that they just miss being together. So I haven't necessarily noticed anybody being um, like affected so negatively from it that I'm now like physically seeing it. But
Yeah.
I also don't, I don't know what's happening when they get off the call. Maybe, um, it makes them sad and they realize like, oh, I'm not going to see my friend in a while. But I think that's why we're trying
Well,
our best to keep these calls so they can at least see each other.
yeah. Well, I think the fact that they're getting excited when they come on the call shows that, if nothing else, even if it is for only half an hour, even if they kind of fall back in the dumps later, at least you're giving them that half hour to
Right,
get
right.
that break. I talked to one girl on the show who's 16. Well, she's coming up on 17 now. And her and I talked to my sister about it just on the phone, and they both said the same thing, and that's I miss school. I miss they miss the social aspect of it. They miss some of their teachers. I can't imagine ever having a situation where I ever missed school, but
Yeah.
you know, because I knew someday my ass would end up back there again. But I get it though, and it's weird for me to hear kids, pretty unanimously saying like I miss school and I miss going and stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, so that's really something. And now I know you personally and pretty well. So, but I mean, I can tell even just in you talking right now, you're someone who really cares a lot about what you're doing. I mean, you're not just phoning this in by any means. You're
No.
working hard. Uh, just even in text conversations we've had stuff, I can tell that you're, probably a little stressed even with some of this.
Yeah,
Uh, so while you're dealing with all of this stuff with your students, you also have two children of your own.
I do. Yeah.
And so now, how are you getting through what you have to do for work and getting them through their own e-learning and stuff like that? Like what things do Jack and Maeve have to do in the course of a day?
So at first, those first 2 weeks, I would say Jack's workload was very intense. And I think at the time, like, I felt like kind of lucky that my load wasn't as intense because I was able to help him through what he needed to do. Um, but when things, like I said, when the date got moved to April 30th, I just said to them, like, these are the things I need to be doing whenever I'm on the Zoom call or something. Like, they know, like, I need to stay out of the room. So we've kind of had to establish like boundaries during
Sure.
when I'm doing something that's um, work related, obviously. And then, I mean, luckily, Maeve's work, she's in first grade. So a lot of her work, she has an iPad that they've given her from the school. And the app that they're using is called Seesaw. It's actually, I'm using that one with my class too. And so much of it is just, it's very well laid out. Her teacher is awesome, super organized. So
Good.
I don't really have to do much with Maeve, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah.
Jack's in fourth grade, and Jack doesn't like school very much. Um, so yeah, I was kind of what you were saying about you never thought you could miss school, and he
Yeah.
has said like, I just want to go back to school. I'm like, I thought you hated
That's
school, but
yeah, that's saying something then. Yeah.
mhm. um,
And how
it's
is
been hard for him because it's all online.
yeah,
Yes, again, his teacher's amazing too, super organized, just doing everything she can, but it's not the same as having your teacher right there. So
right.
yeah, she can link a video of her talking about something or a YouTube video, but um, there's also a like attention seeking slash I'm going to act helpless because I think because I know my mom's right there, so I'm just
Yeah.
going to keep asking for help constantly until she wants to lose her mind. So um, and he's I don't know, maybe I don't know what he would think, fortunate or unfortunate to have a mom who's a teacher, because I'm like, no, you need to try that. And then I will help you. I will always help you if you're not really
right.
understanding.
Right.
But there are
No,
things
I think
that I
you're
know
doing
for a fact he can do that he's saying he does not get.
right. You're doing the right thing. You're making them. You're not just handing them the answers. You're making them
Yeah.
learn how to
Yeah.
how to answer it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but that's the teacher in you for sure. Um, so as far as like getting through the day, like, like are they kind of like on a set schedule? Like if you kind of like lay it out, like this is how the day is going to go. Because it's when you're at home, it's real easy to be like, well, do your e-learning whenever, whenever you get, just do it at some point. Or do you have like 10 o'clock, you're doing this, 11 o'clock, you're doing that? Like how structured is your day? Or are you kind of just fitting things in where you can?
Well, I'm laughing because when it first started, I was that like teacher slash mom that was like, okay, this is kind of an outline of our day. I did not want it to go by the minute, but I just
Yeah.
needed for my own sake to have some kind of outline and plan. And that's not anything like what we're doing now. It just like everything went out the window.
Yeah.
Um, but
I hear
we try to get everything done in the morning. Um, but when the kids are starting to like flare out, I'm like, just take a break because nothing ends well if I keep pushing and saying, just finish it, just finish it.
right.
So, there have been, I think 2 nights ago, Jack finished, he turned in his math at like 5:30.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, we don't have anywhere to go. So,
Right. As long as it's getting done. Yeah.
yeah, I tried at least, like, I'm like, you need to get up in the morning and like, let's get dressed and like not be in our, I think it's fun to be in our pajamas every once in a while, but I try not to have it like as an everyday thing.
No, you don't want to
Um,
fall into those habits and stuff
right.
now. And keep sleep
Yeah.
schedules and stuff
Yeah.
are probably important too. So,
Yeah.
especially, I know you said Maeve
Oh
has
my
been
gosh.
rough the last few
It's
nights. This is
it's getting to a point where I'm embarrassed because I can't believe. I feel like, and I don't know if it's a number two child kind of a thing where we're kind of just like, ugh, F it. But
yeah.
there's Jack who just like goes to bed and falls asleep right away. And that girl, it will literally be like midnight and she's just like running around the house crafting. She's just like some kind of mad scientist. And yeah. So,
Well,
but I'm also kind of like, I don't know.
yeah, if you ever had to deal with it, I guess now's the time. But
Yeah.
so, okay, so now they've said that the schools are done for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean for you? I mean, how long does your school year typically go? Like, does it go into June?
No, actually, this year was going to be the earliest I've ever ended a school year, May 22nd.
Okay. So
So
about a month from now. So are you just basically gonna just you keep doing what you're doing now for one more month and then that's
yep,
it, and then
yep,
it's just kind of wait and see where things are at next fall, huh?
yeah, yeah.
And
It's really weird, and I felt like people were saying, "Oh, we're not going back, right?" And I kept saying, "Really? You think?" Like, "Oh, I don't know." And then the more and more people would say it, I think I kind of knew. But then it
yeah,
was like when that official announcement came out, like I kind of took it a little bit harder than I thought I would. I think just hearing it be actual, like now it's real,
right.
was just kind of a gut
And
punch.
is it just and tell me why? Is it because you're not going to see your kids? I mean your students? Is it just you miss
It's
being there? Is it the scariness of the overall? It's just yeah,
it's all of that. It's
yeah,
totally all of that. It was like the whole, oh my gosh, I never even got to say goodbye to them because I even on that last Friday, they had
right,
no idea.
right,
So
yeah,
I'm like telling them goodbye, knowing like, well, I'm not going to see you on Monday.
yeah.
Um,
But you had no idea it would be this long
no,
though, and all the way to the end of the year. No,
right. So then it's that part of it because this chunk of year is it's a fun time of year because like they're pretty much almost third graders now and they've just come such a long way and we do some really cool things in the spring. So there's that part of it that I'm sad about. And just I feel like I just missed out on a huge chunk of time with them that I
yeah.
don't get to have next year. Um,
Well, I think
and then
that says a lot about you, though, as not only a teacher but a person that you care that much that it would affect you. I think that speaks volumes about you. I think that's very cool.
thank you. I miss like my coworkers, I miss my friends, I miss my family. Like I think so there was the school part of it that
Yeah,
made me sad, but then it's like I don't know if I can put this into words. schools are now like, closed till the end of the year. So then it just makes you think, why are schools closed? Oh yeah, that's because there's this pandemic. Oh, and
Right.
so it like makes you go down this whole path of like, now our lake trip got canceled. My spring break got canceled. I was going to LA in July. That got canceled for a concert. Like everything is like, oh my gosh, like it's
Yeah.
been rough. And I know like some people might say, oh, that's so selfish. Like your vacation got canceled. But I
It's
always
not.
say like, it's
It's not
okay
the
to have a
cancel.
feeling of disappointment.
Sure, yeah, and it's not just that it's disappointing that you're not going. It's the circumstances that are causing it that's
Yes.
really what's upsetting. It's like, yeah, it sucks that your trip got canceled, but what really sucks is there's a pandemic going on, and that's why your trip got canceled. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the uncertainty of
It's
knowing
super
how long.
scary.
Yeah, and then the uncertainty of knowing how long is this going to last. You know, I knew when they called that first 2 weeks, I was like, there's no way it's going to be just 2 weeks. There's no, I'm like, they're easing people into this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think that on the back end of this, that when we do start, and we're kind of getting there, but when we start kind of coming out the other end of this, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be 2 weeks of, okay, now you can do this, but you still can't do these things. Then it's going to be 2 weeks of, okay, now we'll loosen this up. And I mean, that could take the rest of the summer, depending on how they do things and how things result. So, you don't know what next fall
Right.
could look like for you. Um, but once you do get to the summertime and you don't have the teaching to have to worry about, and it'll just be you and the kids. Uh, how do you think that's going to go? If you had a guess, because
Well, I
now
mean,
they won't have their e-learning or any of that stuff. I mean, so
well, usually summers are a blast because you can do stuff. So I
right,
think I won't lie, I have a lot of anxiety about it because I mean we have our backyard and we have our neighborhood to walk around. We could ride bikes, we could go on a bike ride, but like all of those things that like I'm guessing we won't be able to go to the pool or the arboretum or the zoo or like any of these things that so it makes
yeah.
me a little like oh my gosh what are we gonna do all day.
No, I mean, people are
So
having to get creative. I had someone on the show, I just posted today, who she came up with like a scavenger hunt to do around the house and
yeah.
things like that. And so she's trying to like figure out different ways to, entertain the kids, but not just sit them in front of the television
Right.
either. And that's the real trick because that's the easy thing to do. Give them some video games or put them in front of Netflix, and
Hmm.
you'll be fine the rest of the day.
Right.
I know you. I know you're not someone who is going to let that slide. So, um, yeah. So I can appreciate everything that you're going through, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on because you're in a unique position with this whole thing. I know that it's scary for you. How are you guys dealing with not getting out? How are you getting your groceries and are you having people deliver it? Or are you going to the store? I mean, what have you been up to?
So at first Mark was going, he was just kind of like our the person to go. And then recently we've been doing delivery
Mm,
or pickup. Like we'll just place the order and then just pick it up.
yeah.
Um,
And how are you on supplies? Everything okay, or is some stuff
yeah,
going?
we had a close call with toilet paper.
Oh yeah,
So, but no, we're good.
that's
Just
good.
it's a
It's
very weird time.
Yeah. No, I
It's
can tell mentally it's a very tough it's there you have a lot to grapple with. You're dealing with, you've got the kids in the house, you've got, this, you know, cloud of the pandemic kind of hanging over your head and how it's affecting all these things. Um, but I don't know. I'm optimistic. I know that this might take a while, and
mhm.
I'm okay with them. I'm okay with them taking as much time as they need to get this thing under control and under wraps before people get back to normal. I think everything is worth the wait. It'll be
Yes,
fine. Uh,
I totally agree.
yeah, I think it's just it's testing everybody in different ways, and that's why I'm doing this show is I'm showing
Mhm.
everybody's dealing with the same problem, but in their own unique scenarios and
Yeah.
situations and stuff. And again, that's why I thought you would be such a great guest to have on because not only are you dealing with, having to be at home and homeschool your kids, but you are also an actual teacher who still has a class to deal with for at least another month. And again, the emotional attachment that you have with your students and the fact that you don't see your coworkers
Mhm.
and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure that that's all a lot. So before we wrap up, I always close out with two questions.
Okay.
So here we go. The first one is, and you may have already answered this in the course of the interview so far, but what would you say has been the hardest part about this whole thing so far for you?
Oh man. Is there like an edit feature if I have to stop and think for like ever?
Yeah, if it takes you 3 minutes, I can trim it up.
Are you gonna actually have people just watch me stare for 3 minutes while I think? Oh man.
So they can stare at me. They'll see me too. They can stare at me and watch me drink my coffee while you think about it. So
I think the probably the hardest thing is just n- not being able to, like, you think to yourself, okay, that's fine. We're all home together. We'll go to the arboretum. You can't go to the arboretum, or like, so it's all those things that you just so take for
the
granted all the time.
yeah, it's the knee jerk reactions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had I had actually helped somebody move like a week or two ago, and it was just kind of an emergency situation where we had to go do it. So me and a couple people went out and helped this person out, and afterwards I just had this knee jerk reaction like, we should go grab some lunch now,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, that's right, we can't.
Hmm.
Like I thought, we'll go hit like Denny's or something, and it
Yeah.
was like, oh no, we can't do that. Yeah, and I
Right.
forget, so I understand. So on the opposite side, my final question to you is, what would you say if there's any silver lining to any of this, if there's anything that's good that has come of this, what would you say is something that good has come of this in your life?
Well, I feel like I already know my answer, but I'm wondering if many people have said the same thing, or
It doesn't matter, even
like
if you do, even if it is.
it's it truly, and I think you can see, like, if you watch the news or whatever, and just how it has brought people together
Sure.
in a way. So I would say one of the first things I thought about in those like first 2 weeks was the fact that every night we were sitting down as a family of four for dinner, and that never
Right.
happened. So because Mark doesn't get home till usually like almost 7:30, so it's kind of like it's just the three of us all the time.
Right.
Um, so just things like that, and just the the randomness of like, hey, it's a Tuesday, like let's have a movie night, or oh, you want to go do this random thing in the backyard that we never get to do. Oh, you want to dig all that up, like. So I guess it's brought opportunities for things that we were always just too busy to do.
Well, and I am hearing that a lot, and I think that's a great thing because it's giving families a chance to. It's like if you think about it, it's more like when you and I were kids, where that's you didn't have the internet and you didn't have streaming services, and so you all sat
Yeah.
down and you sat down and you had dinner together. After dinner, maybe you go in the backyard and goof around for a little while or something like that, or you have a game night or whatever the case is. And you're right. I know, especially this time of year with what Mark does, I know that this is a very busy time of year for him and everything. So I'm imagine that for you guys to have that time to sit down, eat dinner, spend time with one another, as hard as everything else is, I mean, hold on to that because you
Yeah.
guys you'll always remember this. I mean, you'll remember the good, but you'll remember the bad, but you'll remember the good
Yeah.
too. I mean, this is a good chance for you to have this time with your family, and I commend you. I think you're doing an awesome job. I had no doubt you would. I know it's not easy, and I know it's very hard, but I
Yeah.
think that I think you're doing other teachers a good service by representing them so well. I think you're doing a great job as a mother, and I thank you for coming on the show.
Aw, thanks, Tom.
So it's good to be able to see it too. I don't get to see it
Yeah.
here. So one of the things I want to do is when we come out the other end of this, whenever that is I want to do a follow up and check back in with you, and then kind of hear how did it go since we last talked.
Yeah.
So if you're up for it, we'll check back in with you somewhere down the road. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Well, hey, good luck. Hang in there. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you, and we'll stay in touch. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
again.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, that was my interview with Amanda Feeney. I think it goes without saying, if you watch that interview, you can tell that she is very passionate about her job, her relationship with her students, the obligation she feels towards them. I mean, that's a good teacher. Anybody who has their child in her class is blessed to have her as a teacher. I would know that knowing her. I don't think she could be any other way. So I'm not surprised, I guess is what I'm saying, to see that. But I thought that that really came across. And also, obviously, as a mother and wife as well, so um, I appreciate seeing somebody so passionate about what they're doing. But you can also tell that she's afraid. She's afraid of the what ifs and the maybes and where is this whole thing going, like so many other people are. She is not alone in that. And that's another reason I like doing these shows, because I want people to know that you know everybody there's a lot of people out there who are feeling that fear, and it's natural. It's absolutely a normal reaction to have. But you got to try to understand that while everybody might be feeling that, or a good majority of people might be feeling that, it's important to know that this is something that we will get through this. It really is, like, there's no way we're not going to get through this. We will get through this, but just know that it's okay to feel the way that you do. You're not alone, and uh, we're all here, and hopefully we're all checking in on each other. So in the meantime, I'll keep doing so on this show. I've still got plenty of guests lined up right now who want to come on and or are willing to come on, because I've talked to a few people. So, and I'm excited about all of them. I am excited about everybody who's been on the show. If this was the last one, for whatever reason, I'd say we already had a really good run. So I'm happy with where things are and excited about where things are going. So in the meantime, everybody take care of yourselves, take care of each other, tell somebody you love them, and until next time, nothing but peace and love. Adios.